Hey there, everyone. Zach from Zach's Contraptions, and you might automatically notice that this is not my normal background. Well, I'm not at home, and thank you to everyone for joining us at 10 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Pacific because, well, I'm in the Pacific Northwest at the Seattle Boat Show. Woo! Whereby I have built another one of my contraptions here, turning pedal boats into race cars. If you've not yet seen it, check it out on my channel. I've posted a couple shorts, but a video will be coming out as to, another invention, kind of cool contraption that I've done. You're not here for the Seattle Boat Show, although it is a wildly cool event. You're here for the Rube Goldberg Machine contest, more than likely. And if you are, please feel free. This is the time for question and answers. I'm here to answer anybody's questions about the upcoming contest. But as well as one of the big topics I want to cover in the meantime while answering questions, if anybody does have them, is covering judging, how these contests are judged, because we're now into the big, we're into the competition season, and how, you're building these machines. I've given you the tips. I've telling you, how to move them, but really covering when you get to the contest, what the judges and referees are looking for. I think that's going to be really important. So if anybody does have questions, certainly post them in the comments. I will answer as we go through, but let's just dive into it. If I look a mess, it's because I've been working underneath the pedal boats all day. We've been pushing them like crazy. And I set a new course time today. Go me. But so I look a little bit of a state. But what I'm going to do is just quite literally just jump right into how the contests are judged and break that down. And I'm going to show you the exact forms that we give to the referees and the judges. Now, I keep saying that, referees and judges. If you are in the apprentice division and division 1, we'll consider them the same, whereby there is only a judging component, and it's going to look like this. So add that to the screen, whereby apprentice in division 1 is just judged, whereas when you move up to the higher divisions, high school and collegiate, there is a referee component to it. There's somebody with scorekeeping components. In the lower divisions, it's kept to this simple one page. So this is the instructions that we send along to all the hosts, whereby this is the judging form. This is it. I've condensed it down into something very, very easy so that, it can be an even playing field for everyone. First things that you'll notice is that, again, the top 5 categories are all subjective elements, whereby the person who is judging it is going to give you a subjective score based upon their personal opinion. So what they think of your machine, there's 5 categories right there where 50%, 50 points of the machine is subjectively scored. Whereas the other 50 points are in these bottom categories, starting from the run 1 task down to the presentation time. That's objective. So your judge is looking at those items from a very objective standpoint, meaning that their opinion doesn't matter. Did your machine complete the task? Yes or no? Did your machine have imperfections? Things that their opinion does not matter on. We combine them both into one form, making it very, very simple. On the previous page is the judging form definitions. And again, this is available both in your rule books as well as in the hosting packets if you are a host. There will be a video coming out as well explaining all these terms and definitions to our judges. So if you are a host watching and you want to give your judges a little bit of, a heads up before they arrive, I'm going to have something for them. I'm in the middle of creating it. Not right now because, well, I'm here amongst $1 million boats. There's literally a $1 million yacht right behind me. I'm not in the ability to make that video at the moment, but I'm getting on it. Have no fear. You'll be able to send that to people. Anyway, with it, let's break down the judging form and let's just look at everything. So the 5 subjective categories, it'll tailor over as well to the high school and collegiate. We'll get to that in a moment. But the 5 subjective categories are first impression, construction and artistry, theme and presentation, the usage of objects, and teamwork. And again, on every judging form, we have something to explain that. And when we look at the first impression, it literally is that. It's when the judge walks up to that machine, does it wow them? Is there something impressive? Or, is it kind of, it really is like, wow, this looks like it could be a cool machine. That's what we're going for then. And it's the machine that you can't wait to see. And what we tell the judges and what I will be putting in the video is if they see a machine that's just filled with dominoes, this isn't a domino competition. It's a Rube Goldberg machine contest. So automatically, if you see dominoes, there should not be impressed. It's a pretty easy category, and again, it's objective, and it's something that we've added over the years because we found that naturally, as a judge walks around the contest, they'll look at a machine, and there'll be one that catches their eye. And so we really want all machines to have that really creative, artistic look to it that the judges are looking like, wow, all of these are amazing. The next category being construction and artistry. And that's where, a Rube Goldberg machine is something that's not 3D printed. I've said that in a lot of my videos, but a Rube Goldberg machine is something that's made with everyday objects, things that you found lying around. Like, I'm in a place where there's a lot of boats, and last year I made a boating machine using stuff that was laying around. I used a kayak along with a crabbing and shrimping pot, and I turned that into a seesaw, whereby I had a life preserver which fell on the kayak, which caused the kayak to tip, which pulled a bumper on one of the boat lifts, and that pressed the button. That's using everyday objects. I didn't manufacture everything. And that's something that the judges are looking for. Are you using everyday objects, or are you stringing everything together with cardboard and duct tape? It's, and it is the presentation. It is the presentation of your construction. Does it look slapped together, or was there a little bit of time and effort put into how you constructed your machine? And again, how well those everyday objects are incorporated with your theme, which is the very next of Rube Goldberg machines have a theme. So again, if I'm talking about a machine like I did last year of launching a boat, that has a real nautical sense to it. And thereby you heard the mention of a crab pot, the kayak, the life preserver, having a theme with the everyday objects. Certainly if you are brushing your teeth, especially with the task being to dispense toothpaste on a toothbrush, you want a theme around it. Now, does it have to be a bathroom theme? Absolutely not. One example that I give is sometimes your elephant has a sweet tooth. And what if you put shaving cream or whipped cream on a broom and you go and brush your elephant's teeth? That's certainly okay. And you could have a whole theme around a zoo whereby you're trying to get this hungry elephant his toothpaste, his toothbrush with his sweet treat on it. And you could have a zoo theme around it and using everyday objects like even stuffed animals. They're really looking for that theme, and how you present it, how you tell the story of the Rube Goldberg machine really plays a part in it. And maybe you might have some simpler elements, but if you dress up well, you're going to impress the judges. If you tell the story creatively, as long as you're not just sitting there and go, so this domino falls and it causes the marble to hit this, which causes the car to do that. We don't want that. There isn't a building element to the Rube Goldberg machines, of course, but we care about that humor. We care about that level of creativity from the artistic side, and where we add that in is through this presentation element. The creative use of the everyday objects. So this is more definitely inclusive for the younger students. We want to see how you incorporate the simple machines, with them being screw, lever, inclined plane, wheel and axle, wedge, and pulley. Yeah, I did that off the top of my head. Be impressed. But how students incorporate those 6 simple machines all throughout, because they are the bread and butter. They're what makes a Rube Goldberg machine work. And we want to see how creative they are. And again, I'm sticking with that example of where I used a crab pot and a kayak, and I turned that into a lever. So again, just how creative can you be with that sort of thing? Maybe your toothbrush is a big broom, and again, you can use that broom, and that broom can certainly be a lever. Being creative with that. The judges are looking for those sort of things rather than, again, just simple dominoes, rather than just simple balls rolling. We want to see that creativity, and we certainly tell the judges to look for it. And the last subjective category in the younger divisions is teamwork. So naturally, if your team is yelling at each other, if one person is standing over in the corner, not participating, or the other team members have, delegated them to doing something meaningless, we don't want to see that. It is a team effort. With anything that I build, it is, I can't do it by myself, whether it be getting the materials to me, or running it, or resetting it. Make sure you're working well with your team, and it is supposed to be fun overall, and the judges will be looking at that. So That's the subjective side of things. Now, of course, the objective, which are pretty clear. So in each machine, you need to solve the task. And this year's annual task is putting toothpaste on a toothbrush. So before 50 points again for the subjective, and now 50 points for the objective. Whereby in the younger divisions, both Apprentice and Division 1, you get 2 chances to run your machine. No voids, both runs count. And if your machine completes the task, so as long as toothpaste gets on the toothbrush, somehow that counts. That's your task is completed. If you do it in 10 interventions, if your machine fails along the way, keep making it work. Don't just stop there. Don't just let the machine sit there and die. Make sure that it continues to work all throughout, because you're putting on a show, as I continually say. So whether you need to skip parts of your machine to make it work, just get to the finale, get to the end, and make sure the task is solved. And you automatically get the 5 points right there. And make sure it happens for both of your runs. Now, of course, interventions take a big factor into everything, whereby if your machine doesn't work perfectly, Rube Goldberg did a chain reaction, one thing triggering the next. If it doesn't work perfectly, well, you can intervene. And that means you can touch the machine in order to make it go. Now, the judges will be counting how many times you touch your machine. And it is very, very common. In fact, a very typical Rube Goldberg machine might end up with 2 or 3 interventions if it's around a 20 to 30 step Rube Goldberg. Interventions are acceptable. It's, you're trying to overcome Murphy's Law with these contraptions. So don't feel bad if you have interventions. I know a lot of people who are submitting for the online contests are worried about having to do the presentation before, followed up with running the machine. And you are having to do that because it's comparing apples to apples. If you're doing a live regionals, you don't get a do-over while there. So if you're doing a video, you do have that opportunity to do a do-over, or you show your machine with interventions. Just we have to be comparative. But there is a deduction for that. So 2 points per intervention, up to 10 interventions. The amount of steps that you have in your machine. So, we do want to know how many steps, and each division has a lower limit of steps with it. So 10, 15, and 20 for the various divisions. And depending on how many steps you include in it, you're given a certain amount of points. Pretty simple there. I have a video explaining how to count the steps in a Rube Goldberg machine if you're not clear. So just search that on my educational playlist. Literally is to how to count steps in a Rube Goldberg machine. Very cleverly named. The runtime. So your machine, you're allowed a 2-minute presentation at the beginning, and then you're allowed 3 minutes to run your machine. Now, the judges are going to be counting that, making sure that your machine doesn't go over that time frame. And if it does, well, then there's a point deduction for that. So 3 minutes is a lot of time, trust me. A very typical 10 to 20 step Rube Goldberg machine might only run in 10 to 15 seconds. They can run pretty fast. So 3 minutes, even the professional ones that I build do not run that. I try not to make them over 90 seconds, truthfully. So making sure they're within the machine physical size. So the younger division, Apprentice, gets 6 feet of space, a 6-foot cube. Division 1 gets 8 feet. So as long as your machine is built within that confines, you get the points. And as I mentioned, the presentation time, making sure you stay within the 2 minutes. That's it. It's out of 100 points. And just to kind of go back and show we've got that. Everyday objects other than dominoes. Sorry, as I had the screen full, it didn't actually show me it didn't show me the comments. I just realized. Yes, dominoes do not count as everyday objects. So the little plastic dominoes. We want everyday objects to be like books, DVDs, boogie boards, chairs, trash cans, anything like that. Little tiny dominoes, just they're the worst thing to include in a Rube Goldberg. But okay, so showing that. So how it works from there is, again, each team is scored out of 100 points. And then a scorekeeper very easily. So let me pull up the full screen. So I'm working on my little tiny laptop. It's not my normal multi-screen setup at home. So then the scorekeeper form, whereby we've got that. Each team will receive a score they'll receive the score of 100. So the team's total, basically, so the judges, so if you have 3 judges, You're going to total up, you'll have judge number 1 is going to score it out of 100, judge 2. And a lot of competitions are only going to have 2 to 3 judges. If you have more, that's a fantastic contest because it provides a lot of feedback. Basically, you're going to have that score, and then it's going to be divided by the total number of judges. Very typically, out of 3 or 2, you do need at least 2 judges. But then that final score is going to be out of 100. And then I noticed on here that I have a typo that I sent to this, so I get to fix it because this says it's out of 200. I meant to put 100 right here, but the final results is out of 100 points. And, the team with the highest overall average score is going to get first place, second place, and third place. If there's a tie, it's how the usage of objects. So that category we talked about before, how creatively are they using the objects? That's going to be the tie-breaking category. From that, construction and artistry, and at the very last is step count, because step count is important in some degree, but on the other hand, we don't want that to be the deciding factor as to why a team wins. So with it, that's how the youngest division is scored. It's very easy, and we're very, very flexible. It's, again, when I'm going to be making this video, my hair is just so terrible. When I'm making the video and talking to the judges, there is a degree of patience, extra patience necessary for the younger divisions, whereby if they go over their runtime, something probably really went wrong, and don't be mean to them, help them out. If they're frustrated, a judge can certainly step in and just be of assistance with those younger divisions. We want to encourage them to come back in future years. It doesn't have to be the most rigid. It's not like the upper divisions for sure, where there is that much more degree of competitive nature. We want everybody to feel at the end of the day that even if their machine didn't work, that you still had fun and you created something amazing, because Rube Goldberg machines are. I've dedicated my life to building these things for a reason, and that's the goal, is to make sure that kids enjoy it. Jumping up to the next division. So like I said, apprentice in division 1 is 1 judging category. Division 2 and collegiate is something different, whereby you'll have 2 sets of scoring personnel, whereby there'll be judges and referees. So judges will show up and be purely subjective. So it's purely their own personal opinion, very much similar to the other categories, just with a few extra, 5 extra, of course, whereby, again, first impression, theme, presentation, use of objects, and construction and artistry all transfer over. Those are all the same. The additional ones being suspense, humor, I guess teamwork is in there as well, reliability. There is a lot of carryover. I should have remembered that a little bit better. But so we are looking at your theatrical and verbal presentation a little bit closer on this. So how well of a story are you telling? We want to really hone in that your presentation is not just reciting the steps. For the love of everything, please make sure that it is not just, this step triggers this, just triggers that. It's, please tell a story, dress up, be creative, what have you. Now, in the younger divisions, we talked about having unique steps, such as, again, using creative objects. And when we get to the higher divisions, we really do want that focus on unique and or slow transfers of energy. We do want the machines to not be 10 to 15 seconds, but around a minute. Something where it's a good show for the audience, whereby, if you're going to have a ball run, not just simply having a ball go down a track, but maybe multiple balls going around. Maybe there's something slow, add a zigzag element, add something creative. Maybe be the ball made out of, I don't know why hair clippings stuck in my mind, but a ball of hair clippings that falls apart as it goes. And, inside of it, there's something inside that has to release from it. Actually, I know why I thought of it. I've seen that example before. But having those creative elements, and certainly doing some more, a little riskier elements as you get to the higher divisions, especially collegiate, you're allowed to work with electrical arcing. So you can have some fun when you get up there. Humor. Rube Goldberg machines are supposed to be funny and or ridiculous. And again, I mentioned that elephant brushing his teeth with a brush, but there needs to be some level of humor or ridiculous in it, because that's the definition as to what a Rube Goldberg machine is. And the best way I can illustrate such a thing is the official chain reaction classification chart, whereby if you don't have humor or ridiculousness, you have built a chain reaction machine, not a Rube Goldberg. So it's why, if you look at this second category right there, whereby, again, if you have something like a Hot Wheels car goes down a track, which hits a string of dominoes, which causes a marble to go, you've built a chain reaction machine. There's nothing funny about it. Adding in something ridiculous and even like solving a task. It's a good way to, good one for humor, whereby, let's bring this back. So a good example of humor in that is a lot of people are probably going to solve the task by crushing the tube of toothpaste somehow. That's all well and fine, but it's going to be very, very common. What's creative and or funny would be something like if you take a trash can, and let's assume my water cup here is a trash can, and you line the inside of it with toothpaste. Now, this is your trash can with toothpaste, and then you knock your toothbrush into the trash can full of toothpaste. Then all of a sudden you reach inside, pull the toothbrush out, and start brushing your teeth with the trash can toothbrush. Yeah. Funny and or ridiculous. Check. That's going to be amazing. And the judges will be looking out for that sort of stuff. Again, if they see the very simple chain reaction elements, you're going to score very low in humor. Suspense, that's something of, there needs to be a twist. There needs to be something of, we want that creative element. Maybe it's something it's again, that hair step, for example. Maybe it's a baseball that unravels to be a ball of hair that spills out, or something that has to grow. My 2011 Rube Goldberg machine, which was designed to water a plant. We had a plant that got watered, and the second water hit the plant, it actually caused this little spring-loaded element to go up, and the plant grew. That's certainly a great element of surprise, because when you're in high school and collegiate, we are looking for a little bit more intricacy with your machines, and the judges are looking for it. Construction artistry, teamwork, those things are certainly the same as what I mentioned before. And reliability. So this one, I've touched upon it before, but really want to hit on it again, is you want to make a machine. You want to prove to us that you have worked hard on your Rube Goldberg machine. You've given it some thought, and more importantly, you've practiced, because a musician doesn't get the song right on the first try. A pro athlete practices over and over, and there's no difference between that and a Rube Goldberg machine. If your machine fails your first run, but you fix it the next run, that's great. That means that both teamwork, you've worked together as a team to solve your problems, and you've made your machine more reliable. Whereas if your machine works the first run perfectly, but then your second run, it has 5 interventions, and the next run, that's 10 interventions. Well, what does that tell you? It means that your machine is basically falling apart before our eyes. And that's not a very reliable machine. We want the thing to work over and over and over again. And those are all things that the judges are looking for. So, and all of those things are the objective points. Do you get a higher score if the object elements tell a part of the story? Absolutely. Yes, you do get a higher score if the objects tell part of the story. We certainly encourage that. And all the machines get a huge amount of space. You certainly can, it doesn't have to be little things. In fact, your objects should be real size items. You can use a ladder, you can use a tire. Make use of the everyday objects rather than having to work with dinky, small little things. Yep, good question, Vincent. So with it, that's the subjective side of things, whereas the objective is the referee. So no room for opinion here. And again, very similar to the apprentice, just with a little bit more caveats, whereby presentation time, same, 2 minutes. In Division 2 and 3, you get 3 runs. All 3 runs are counted, whereby it needs to make sure that it's in the 3 minutes. You get 5 points. If it is, it's not, no points. Interventions, same as before. You get 10 interventions, a total of minus 20 points. Or you get 20 points if you get no interventions, and less points for each intervention that you get. Does it complete the task, like we mentioned before? Does it put toothpaste on a toothbrush in some form? And that's kind of where it tells the story, too, of if you're putting toothpaste on a mop, you need to tell that story, because a judge isn't initially going to be clear of what's happening there. So that's where the storytelling and presentation, everything ties together. There was a lot of thought put into this judging form for that. So really make sure you're clear on that element. Machine physical size, exactly the same as before. However, in this case, for Division 2 and Division 3, if your machine doesn't fit within your cube, which high school gets 10 feet and college gets 12, you're disqualified if your machine is bigger than that. Because already that's huge. That's a huge amount of space. But reason why you're disqualified is most venues just can't fit. It's pretty well designed that your machine is to fit within those boundaries. That's the space that we've given you. And that's something we really want to emphasize. Reset time. So you are given 15 minutes guaranteed to reset your machine. Now, how it works is your team number one is going to present their machine, then they're going to run their machine, and then they're immediately going to reset their machine while the flow of action goes to team number 2, who's going to present, run, start to reset. Then team number 3, and then it's going to circle back to team number 1. From the second that your machine's done, your referee is going to have a stopwatch, and they're going to be timing it, and you're going to get 15 minutes guaranteed. So if the flow of action gets back to you and it's 14 minutes, you get that 1 extra minute to work extra. But if the flow of action has taken 17 minutes to get to you, well, great, you've gained 2 minutes. They're fine, but you have to run your machine when it gets back to you. Otherwise, it's a delay of game. And the reason for that really is because nobody wants to be at these contests longer than they need to be. It's already a long day as is, and the teams that take longer to reset, it slows down everyone, and it's just something that helps keep the flow going. Number of steps, same as before. If you have a certain number of steps, if you don't have a certain number of steps, you can't be entered in your division. And if you reach over that, then brilliant, you earned those points. Visibility is probably the most confusing out of everything, and it's why I'm saving this one for last. Because visibility means how well you can see everything in your machine. If I wasn't on my laptop, I would pull up my Jägermeister Rube Goldberg machine that I just built, whereby that was around 30 steps in basically a 12-foot square area, same size as the college. And you can see everything. You can see every single step that happens. It's purposely built like that. So it's got a nice flow. That means it's got 100% visibility and it would score full points. And it's really easy to tell. I made the percentages very clear as to what it is. Because say that a step happens in the back or a ball travels and then all of a sudden something happens. Something happens over here. It rolls across, but then it goes off out of sight. And then all of a sudden, whoop, something comes in from that side. It's confusing to everyone. And it doesn't make for a very good show. And so visibility is something where we want these machines to be easy to follow. We want the judges and referees to not be confused and looking like this. And so we've put an emphasis on it for this year. With it, same thing with the scorekeeping version. Sorry, as I pull that up. Scorekeepers. So they'll be taking the scores from the judges and the referees. This is where the 200 points comes from. So I get to fix that document as I get off of this call or this YouTube live. So team number 1, they'll get their scores from the judges. So you do need several scores from judges. However, there only needs to be 1 referee. If there's 2, that's great. Then they're fact checking each other. But they'll take their scores out of 100, average it. They'll take the referee scores out of 100, add it together, 200 points. Simple as that. No factors. There's no multiplying. There's nothing of the sort. It's 50-50, 50% subjective, 50% objective. You've got that in there, to which then, all the scorekeeper forms, 1 for each team. And then, out of 200 points, there it is. Just whoever scores the most is the winner. And again, the usage of objects, humor, fewest interventions, and highest total step count. I've really tried to make it easy for everyone to understand the judging. But again, if there are questions, certainly reach out via email. Happy to answer anything with it. Again, there's that video that's going to be coming out soon, whereby it's going to clarify to the judges as to a little bit about it. But also, as you enter your contests, don't be afraid to ask your judges and referees why they scored the way that they did. They're there not only to score it, but to help you improve for the future. We do encourage the judges to have that regular feedback, not just to score and then leave. there will be that feedback. If you're doing the remote if you're doing the remote regionals, I'll personally be one of the ones scoring it, and I'll provide you feedback. I'll be filling out one of those forms for you, and I'll give you feedback as to why your machine made it on or why it did not, and what you can do for the future. So remote regionals, if you are a part of that, that is due again March 1st, whereby the national contest for all divisions is on April 6th at Purdue University. It's going to be an amazing event. We're very much looking forward to it. It's the first time in the history of the contest that not only do we have the collegiate and high school, but we're able to welcome the apprentice and Division I to nationals, and especially having everybody under one roof. I think I said roof there. One roof. I believe we're going to have upwards of, 12, upwards of 50 teams competing at the national stage all in one venue. And that should be around 350 students all in one place just doing Rube Goldberg Machines. I can't wait. If anybody here has any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Again, everyday objects, scoring, I hopefully answered that. Has been hotel, I have no idea what that is. Google is a thing. So not sure. That has nothing to do with me. Again, happy to answer anything, but I will hop off in about a minute. I wish everyone absolutely the best of luck with the contest. I know judging can be a little bit of a daunting thing. That's why I wanted to have this very clear breakdown. And again, make a very clear, much more concise. I know this was around 30 minutes, but I'll make a 5 to 10 minute video for the judges and referees to really understand their jobs and make sure that, we just, the goal is to improve every single year and make sure that all students feel comfortable and want to participate again in this contest. So with it, thank you everyone for those attending live. I know it was quite late for everyone. Sorry for that. I know a lot of people watch this afterwards. With it, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening and best of luck with your machines. Take care. I've been Zach with Zach's Contraptions.